Okay, so the clock just flipped over to 6:30 Eastern Time, and I'm David Smith. I'm going to be your guide for tonight, and we're going to get started right away. I'll do a land acknowledgement, and then we'll do a brief review of the agenda. So I want to acknowledge that the people attending this meeting are coming from lands originally populated by the Indigenous peoples of what we now call Canada. I acknowledge that Indigenous peoples cared for these lands for thousands of years with a worldview that includes all their relations, past, present, and future. I acknowledge the First Nations are nations, equivalent to the government of any country. I value the Indigenous people's view that we are part of nature and their view that we must take from nature only what we need and give back to nature to keep the balance. So growing up, my connection to Indigenous peoples, that this may sound cheeky, but it's true, was limited to seeing Joe Two Rivers in the CBC show The Forest Rangers. Even through most of my adult life, my encounters with Indigenous people were very limited. I am happy to say that Idle No More, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and other events have changed that. I will note that only 14 of the 94 Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action have been completed since 2015. I now learn about Indigenous people daily from shows such as CBC's Unreserved with Rosanna Deerchild and CBC News Indigenous. There are 634 First Nations governments or bands across Canada, and that's in addition to Inuit and Métis people. According to the 2021 census, 1.8 million people in Canada identified as Indigenous, which is 5% of the total population. That includes people who identified as First Nation, which are over 1 million, Métis, which are over 624,000, and Inuit, which is over 70,000. When I reflect on the damage our governments have and continue to do to Indigenous peoples, I'm appalled. Making and then not fulfilling their obligations in treaties, passing restrictive laws, such as in early 1900s, not allowing Indigenous people to hire lawyers to represent them in treaty negotiations, involuntary sterilization, being used in experiments, second-rate healthcare, the 60s scoop, over-incarceration, not acting on missing and murdered Indigenous women, boil water advisories, and residential schools where they face psychological, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. They were punished for speaking their language. They were isolated from learning how to parent. They were prevented from practicing their cultural traditions. And they were subject to malnourishment. I'm also appalled at what I see governments in other parts of the world doing. But after learning about what Canada has done to 2 million people living in this land, I can only conclude that there are too many powerful people behaving badly, and we need to hold them to a much higher standard and hold them accountable. I'm just going to focus on one aspect, the treaties we have made which do not include the unceded lands. I try to imagine what it would be like for Indigenous people to have strangers show up and want to start occupying parts of the land. The closest I could come to is when 2 film shoots were done on my street. Under authority of the Toronto Film, Television, and Digital Media Office, suddenly no one was allowed to park on our street. Then hundreds of strangers showed up with fancy trucks. The street was closed with paid duty police directing traffic. The people living on the street were suddenly prevented from doing things they were used to doing and did not share in any of the benefits of the film shoot. People also got excited when Donald Trump started saying Canada was the 51st state. Think about what you were feeling when people started talking about the possibility of a military invasion. Think about it. What might Indigenous people have thought? What I've read suggests that Indigenous people were willing to share the land with strangers. I imagine the Indigenous people as landlords, willing to provide a space under certain conditions, only to discover they had let the tenants from hell move in. Evidently, no one told the Indigenous people that the strangers were operating under the doctrine of discovery. The doctrine of discovery is a set of concepts developed from a series of papal decrees issued around the 15th century. The decrees provided theological justification and legal backing to European monarchs to invade and seize non Christian lands, enslave non Christian people in perpetuity, and take their property. The idea that European colonial powers had a right to appropriate lands and possessions and treat non Christians as undeserving of rights flowed from this and heavily influenced the legislation that eventually governed Indigenous Crown relations. This doctrine and these concepts also profoundly shaped the system of residential and day schools in Canada. There are 70 recognized treaties in Canada. However, some First Nations never negotiated treaties, so the land remains unceded or not surrendered. By and large, there are significant differences in what people believe was agreed to in the treaties. Even now, in current modern treaty talks, there are differences in how Indigenous people view current treaty talks to what the Canadian government says. Imagine that the tenants you rented your home to are now saying that they own your home and try to tell you that you can't, what you can and cannot do. This isn't how Canada as a nation treats other nations. Canada talks about the rule of law and yet has not, in my opinion, lived up to its side of the bargain. They've been excruciatingly slow in rectifying past misdeeds and continue to shoot themselves in the foot by court challenges to Indigenous issues and not putting into practice UNDRIP calls for free, prior, and informed consent. I am eternally grateful for the Indigenous peoples for their worldview, including talking about considering 7 generations and all my relations, past, present, future, not just people, but all living things. I believe their worldview will lead to a better future than the worldview of economics, which is currently leading us. I urge you to become allies to Indigenous peoples as we face projects being fast-tracked under the guise of sovereignty. In the chat, I leave you with this NFB film on treaties. Nikanese, Miigwech, Nukum Ik. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to briefly review the agenda now. We're going to be starting off with
Dave,
yes.
just a reminder for people to put where they're from on their names, if that can be done.
Thank you.
I suppose I should do it.
I'll get to that in just a sec. I'm actually looking elsewhere right now. So we're going to have a report on the fall action. We're going to have a presentation on the John Bélan webinar. Have some discussion about the wildfires. Have some features from some of our locations. Talk about support for the current action, including a comms update, finance, some simple actions we can do, move to things coming up, and talk about the future. And then the after chat will continue until 8:15. And so, yes, as Nick has suggested, if you would put your name on your picture, you can do that by moving the cursor to the top right-hand corner, and you'll see 3 dots. If you click on that, you'll get an option to rename yourself. Okay, so I'm going to move into an update now on the fall action. So first of all, the Draw the Line Coalition. I have some statistics, which are right here. So We currently have 86 seniors for climate locations, and as of about noontime today, there are 37 seniors for climate actions planned for on or around September the 20th. And at the same time, 24 of our seniors for climate locations are also on the draw the line map. So there are a number that are still being processed by the draw the line team, but because a few were added over the weekend and they didn't look at them yet, but that'll likely go up. That number will go up as well. I do want to mention that the draw the line team has some training actions coming up. Training actions. They have some training coming up. So on September the 3rd, there's an arts and culture training webinar. On September the 10th, there's a media and comms. And on September the 17th, they'll be doing a training for spokespeople. I had been asked if the draw the line training would be open to seniors for climate locations that haven't registered, and that's been considered. I don't have an answer yet from the draw the line team. So following the September 20th action, which is now only 18 days away, there will be some type of evaluation going on by the draw the line team. I haven't seen the details of it yet. They will actually be making a video that will be released on September the 20th by end of day. As well, they will be doing another video that will be released on the following Monday, featuring video clips from across Canada. Yeah, so I think that covers that off. Laurie, you have a question?
Yes, so this is Avril, Dave. Lori
Hi,
and I are together today at my
I
place.
didn't know who raised their hand.
Yeah, well, we got one computer between us, so the
Okay.
computer did it on its own. It just is a point, Dave, and I'm not really sure if you have the answer to this, but because our group is like many other groups in British Columbia who are actually also Council of Canadians chapters, I just wanted to point out to you, Dave, that it's possible that actions may be happening that involve Seniors for Climate people, but they're not just being registered as Seniors for Climate actions on September 20th. I don't know the precise numbers, but I think that that's possible, and it might not just be British Columbia as well.
It is a little bit confusing because I think there's something like 12 Council of Canadian locations across Canada, roughly.
No,
No,
loads more, way more than that.
how many more?
Well, and even within British Columbia, there's about 12. Maybe not as many, but certainly more than, yeah. So there's about 20, but around 30, I think, across the country. But it's just that, and then when we get talking with people in British Columbia, we also understand, oh, well, yeah, we are going to be out on the streets on September 20th, but we're going in under X, and it's yet another type of group. So, so just to kind of throw that into the mix and say, you may see Seniors for Climate banners and things of that sort, even in an action that is largely developed by Council of Canadians, say, or something like that.
Yeah. Thank you, Avril. There's many groups, like For Our Kids is also involved in multiple locations and others. So it's kind of an interesting mix. Thank you. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, I just wanted to register a comment. I was going to refer someone in Toronto to the draw the line activities that were going on. And when I went to look at what was happening in Toronto, I come up with, it's probably the 350.org site. And climate is listed as the very last item on their list of demands. And at the top of the list are things that some groups seem to be accusing Carney of, which he hasn't actually done, like expelling 1,500 migrants from the country and giving money to billionaires. And, just this is stuff that may be possible, but hasn't happened. And yet people are accusing him of a lot of the things that we need to give the guy a break. But I guess my main concern is that I'm out of a half a dozen things, climate was at the very bottom of the list. And to me, that's probably the most important subject.
Yeah. So every time, like personally, I agree with you. But I have to say that in the various things that I've seen released, climate kind of floats up and down in the list, and the mixture of the various demands get mixed up. And I think that's kind of uh, a conscious thing that they're trying to not have any one demand dominate. And so things do get mixed up based on what you're actually looking at.
Yeah, but I guess the other part of my concern is these, I don't know which groups it is of the many that are involved in Draw the Line that are, as I said, kind of jumping way ahead and accusing Carney and the federal government of things they haven't actually done, which to me is just kind of getting out of line to the point where I didn't want to refer my friends in Toronto to that website because to me it was not representing things that I agree with.
So again, I the basis of unity is what people need to agree with as part of Draw the Line. But the various demands are things that we acknowledge. We don't have to agree with them, but we do need to acknowledge that they are there. Does that answer your question, Patrick?
Unsatisfactorily, yes. I just think that perhaps Seniors for Climate could exert some influence to tone down some of these, what I think are kind of outrageous demands.
And we can come back to that in a little bit. Anne, go ahead.
I want to thank Patrick for raising the issue of the political philosophy of the principal organizations involved in Draw the Line. I think some of the comments that they, or the positions that they take are extrapolations on where the current political leadership might be going. But I do remember being young and I remember being really kind of dogmatic in my approach to things, not so much, on a range of issues. And I think what we're seeing is with Draw the Line is younger leadership, really upset about a whole bunch of things in the world, and calling for alliance between all of us. And so as elders and seniors, it probably behooves us all to try and remember when we got so excited that we maybe, jumped the gun a bit. I happen to agree with you, Patrick, that climate is the crucial existential issue of our time. And I wish that this day has been marked every year by Fridays for Future as the annual day for a global mobilization on climate. We're more clearly about climate, and we've really struggled in our area to bring that to the forefront. But we have also decided to endorse the Draw the Line demands because they're good ones. even if they are a little excitable.
Thank you, man. Uh, Rob? Rob Luke? Rob Luke? Okay, maybe I'll come back to Rob. Luba?
There. Can you hear
Go
me
ahead,
now?
Rob.
Okay. You got me started. I tend to disagree with the last two people. I'm old and I'm excited about this too. I think about the Palestinians, 60,000 dead. I'm excited about that. They're dead. I'm supporting them. And it's not because I'm old, because I'm young. I'm supporting them. I'm supporting all the groups that are involved. Migrant workers, the Council of Canadians, us, Seniors for Climate Change. I think this is so important to get everybody together because this is, and I think that Carney's going Trump way, and I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting for him to go like Trump. I'm not saying he's going fascist, but he's going authoritarian. Once he started to arm the Coast Guard, goodbye Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. So we are getting a little bit behind in time. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to stop with Jeff and go ahead, Luba.
Just a point that I too was surprised. The International Socialists came to our meeting in London, and I was a little surprised at some of the rhetoric. I do understand that we're giving this a try, I suppose, and there's a lot of people coming, but I think some of our goals are not quite the same. But it doesn't really matter, does it? We're going to bring people out. I have an opinion too, which I'm not going to state right now on different things, but the words, yeah, I think Carney's a fascist. Were spoken at our meeting too, which I was surprised at. Anyway, that's it. We're running
Thank you,
behind.
Luba.
So.
Go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say that, when we do the evaluation of this coalition and our experience with it, we're going to have to talk over a lot of this stuff. And, I'm not sure if there's another point in the meeting where it can come up again, Dave, in terms of the agenda. But clearly this kind of discussion is important. Yeah, and it's for Toronto. There are the migrant, I think what you're referring to are migrant issues. I'm not sure if you were the previous speaker. But we let the migrant workers define what their issues are. We let other groups Indigenous define their issues. And it does reflect not just what we think in terms of Seniors for Climate. And we've tried to influence as much as we can. But as I said, I think that'll be in the sum up when we get to it. What did we learn from this experience? The issues are important. We do have to organize with other people. This particular experience has its own dynamics that we should be looking at.
Thank you, Nick. Go ahead, Pat.
I wanted to sort of speak to Patrick. I understand what you're saying, and I feel much the same way. But I do feel like I'm going to be going to Toronto with whoever I can round up to go to Toronto with our green T-shirts on. My signs, all of our signs will reflect climate, and I think we need the youth so much. We are not capable of being forceful enough. So I want to borrow their bravery, and I support all the issues that they're standing up. And I voted for Carney. I campaigned for Carney, but I want to show Carney the line that there's a line you can't cross, and you can't forget. We all, not all, but many of us supported him. So I want him to understand there is a line, and he shouldn't forget us. So that was my message.
Thank you, Pat. Tylene, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, thanks so much for yeah, thanks so much for giving me a turn to speak here. I think it's so good that we come to the Draw the Line event with curiosity and questions. and open minds to learn from the other organizations why the other demands are just as important and how all of them are built on the same foundation of what brought us to the climate crisis. And it's just as important to have peace and demilitarize. It's just as important to address wealth disparity. The targeting of migrants distracts from what we are trying to do with our climate action. And Indigenous solidarity, as we'll look at all of the things we already always talk about in our land acknowledgements. So I think we need to practice what we say, and we need to recognize that we are widely a very privileged group, and we maybe don't understand the day-to-day experiences that a lot of other organizations have and a lot of other people have in Canada. And I think that it's important for us to understand that we all want the same thing. And that if we only had an event that just focused on climate, we would have a small turnout. We're trying to build our numbers, and we can't win this alone. And one last thing, sorry, I'm taking a lot of time here. With Carney, I don't think we're necessarily saying we're against Carney. We are holding his feet to the fire. We're the reason that he got voted in. And we want to speak our voices about what we want him to do. We don't want pipelines. And we want to make sure he doesn't. We can't wait and hope that he doesn't do that he's got some master plan we're not aware of. But Bill C5 and Bill C2, I don't know. I think we need to believe him when he puts forward the things that he's putting forward. And maybe he's waiting to see what the reaction of Canadians will be. So let's show him. Thank you.
Thank you, Tylene. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, just very, very briefly. I mean, like Anne, I too was a young radical, was never happy with the speed of change. But that being said, I think one of the things we're trying to do is build a large tent. And in a large tent, you need to have a lot of tolerance in order to build that tent. My final comment that is that one of the very best essays about the fact that the younger generation is going to hell in a handbasket and is not up to the snuff of us older, wiser people was written by Socrates.
Thank you. So I did have a little bit more stuff I wanted to cover. So on August the 14th, Draw the Line had a mass call. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. We're out of time. I will, however, post that the recording of the mass call, so if people want to, they can watch it. That talks about the intersectional demands. There's also been a document written on the intersectional demands, and I'll get that posted for later. But I do want to go on now, and the next section that we're going to have is the presentation on the John Bellon webinar. Rolly?
Thank you, David. Yes, and hi, everyone. This was meant to be a 10-minute segment, but I'm going to try to cut it down a bit to help you out, Dave, back with the agenda. The reason we're showing this, even though we're having John Vaillant present his webinar on September the 9th, it's because the wildfire season that we're into now, 2025, is often compared to 2023. And he gave a testimony in our parliament back in 2023. And some of the things he said then, of course, really apply to now as well. So, and also we're trying to inspire any of you who might not have yet registered for the webinar to do so. And, share the registration link with everybody, your friends, neighbors. And I often kid about even your family pet, but that's pushing it a bit. So what I'll do is I'll show the video, and maybe we'll have a couple of minutes after to make a few comments. So let me share my screen, David, and I will share the video. And let me just do this.
Thanks very much. I'm an independent journalist and author from Vancouver. My work is evidence-based and fact-based. There are about 1,000 endnotes, footnotes, and citations in this book. Fire Weather is currently a bestseller and finalist for national prizes in 3 different countries. And I think it's because the topic, how our appetite for petroleum has supercharged the atmosphere, endangering us all, resonates with people, especially after this terrible summer of CO2-driven heat and fire. Before I get into that, I want to say how honored I am to be here. I come in good faith as a proud Canadian who loves this country and who's grateful for the extraordinary gifts petroleum has given us. Canada and the oil industry are about the same age, and we've both come a long way in a short time. And so, unfortunately, has our climate. When Fort McMurray caught fire in May 2016, I was as shocked as anyone. Winter was barely over. Local lakes were still frozen, and yet the temperature in northern Alberta hit 33 Celsius. More disturbing was the relative humidity, 11%. You know where 11% humidity is normal? Death Valley in July. When you transpose the climate of the hottest, driest place in North America to the Canadian boreal forest, a famously flammable ecosystem, otherworldly things are going to happen, and they did. Quick science lesson. Radiant heat, the heat that tells you not to touch the candle flame, travels at the speed of light. On May 3rd, 2016, the radiant heat coming off the Fort McMurray fire, 10 kilometers wide with 100-meter flames, was 500 Celsius. That's hotter than Venus. That was Fort McMurray on May 3rd, May 4th, and day after day after day after that. That was also this summer in BC, Alberta, Quebec, and the Northwest Territories. Firefighters in Fort Mac described houses burning to the basement in 5 minutes. I thought they were exaggerating. They weren't. I talked to physicists. That's what fire can do at 500 Celsius. As a result, the firefighting operation became a life-saving operation because there was no time to do anything else. What surprises everyone about 21st century fire is how fast it moves. Talk to anyone in Slave Lake or Fort Mac or Kelowna or Enterprise, Northwest Territories. There was a plume over there, and now I'm running for my life. This is happening because the hotter and drier the air and the forest, the faster and more explosive the fire. Climate science isn't rocket science. By the 1770s, the greenhouse effect was understood in principle. By the 1850s, the heat-retaining characteristics of CO2 had been identified. By the 1890s, scientists were considering the possibility that industrial CO2 could alter Earth's climate. By the 1930s, evidence of warming was observed in global temperature records. By the 1950s, mass spectrometers could measure CO2 in parts per million, hence the famous Keeling curve. By the 1970s, Exxon, Rich Kruger's old company, was doing cutting-edge climate science. Internal memos reveal surgically accurate predictions regarding the relationship between increasing CO2 and the climate disruption we are now experiencing. And so did Suncor. And then in 1989, they turned their backs on their own science, and they did it because they cared about the money, gaslight, or greenwash that fact away. To be clear, oil is a 19th century fuel. The internal combustion engine was prototyped in 1860. Why on earth are we still using it? 200,000 Canadians were driven from their homes by wildfires this summer. Tens of millions of North Americans were shrouded in toxic smoke. The Amazon River is drying up. If we don't reduce emissions now, we're going to make this planet uninhabitable. Canada's leadership matters here. Our survival depends on it. And here's the upside. When it comes to renewable energy potential, Canada really is a superpower. Right now, we are perfectly poised to embrace the greatest, greenest energy opportunity the world has ever known. So who's stopping us? Thank you.
So,
Now, the annual climate summit wrapped up in Baku, Azerbaijan over the weekend.
excuse me
As to
for a
much
minute.
wailing and gnashing of teeth over the amount written.
Sorry about that. So what I retained from that is and I'd written it down before viewing this, the oil industry is a fire industry. It is a CO2 industry. It is a climate changing industry. And I'm sure we're going to be hearing a similar message at the webinar on the 9th, which is actually a week from today. So again, the reason for showing this was to inspire all of you to keep plugging this, to keep promoting it. Right now, I believe we're close to 1,200 registrations. Maybe somebody has a number out there. Eric, I'm not sure. So we're trying to get to 1,500. I'm not sure why. We just want to attain a larger number. When he of course was speaking before Parliament in 2023, that was the year that the number of hectares that were burned in 2023, 17.2 million. And if we think it's bad now, 2025, we're only at 7.4 million hectares. So 2023 was 2.5 times worse, believe it or not. And but as I said, it's quite bad now. A few other notes that I retained from this was the fact that he didn't mention that, but it seems now that it's spreading. Well, wildfires are spreading even into areas that were formerly, like Newfoundland, Labrador, less traditionally affected by wildfires. And even Europe this year had some of our fire smoke. However, they didn't complain about it as much as did some of our American politicians who didn't like the fact that we were sending smoke their way. And what I retained from that as well, again, he didn't mention it, but the focus a lot is a lot on the health hazard, toxic smoke, and the fine particles that we get into our bloodstream and our lungs and so on. And on and on and on. There are a lot of talking points or points we can make about wildfires. So it'll be a very interesting webinar. And again, we'd appreciate all the support and the promotion that you can make. I'm going to stop there. Dave, I don't know if you wanted to take some questions, but it will, oh, I see a hand up. Anne?
Yeah, I put it in the chat. Can we link to that short excerpt from the Seniors for Climate website? Is it on there? Or can it be
the video, the 5-minute video?
Yeah.
Well, we'll put it on for sure.
That would be great because I can share that, and then probably others would want to share it too. It'll definitely make people interested.
Well, I'll put the link in the chat, but we'll also put it on the website.
Having it on the website would be great. So it sends people to the website, and it also and helps to promote the thing. I also wondered if somebody can prepare a small, short bio for John Valancourt.
No, Vaillant. Vaillant.
No,
it's actually French. In French, it would be Vaillant, but he pronounces it Vaillant.
Valiant. Okay.
Yeah.
So John Valiant, his just a short bio so that we can promote the link, Seniors for Climate, and
I'll tell you what, we will send that in the organizer letter that follows this meeting, and we will have some more details about his bio and the links and so on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And to answer your earlier question, Rolly, I think the next segment will open up some time for discussion. I also want to comment, even though we're very centric on what's happening in Canada, all these fires are going on all through the Northern Hemisphere. Scotland, all the Nordic countries. I haven't seen a report on Russia since May, but they also were having wildfires through Siberia. So the next segment, a little discussion on our experience with the fires, and Pat Wally is going to talk about that. Pat?
Hi, everybody. Last organizers meeting, I talked about how the wildfires had affected people in Winnipeg and Manitoba, and just refugees in out of the north in Manitoba. A lot now because the hydro poles burnt down. So the hydro is trying to restore power to communities. The fires are less worrisome at this point, but they're still burning and will probably burn right through to spring. In Yellowknife is not going to be able to have a September 20th activity because Yellowknife is full of refugees as well from fires in the territories. So the fires are affecting people all over the place. And I just wondered if any of you had stories of how the fires have affected you or people you know. No? Okay, well, that's good because the agenda is running late, so we'll go back to Dave. Oh, Luba.
Luba has her hand raised.
Yeah, just a very quick comment. I went from London. I'm a volunteer with the Canadian Red Cross, and I went to Winnipeg with numerous colleagues from London to assist the evacuees in Winnipeg. And I was surprised that not a word was said by anyone about climate change for the 2 weeks I was there. It's just not, I don't know. No, nobody's thinking of it in that term. I mean, it was quite chaotic, and many hundreds of evacuees were being served. Many hundreds of Canadian Red Cross volunteers and staff were there to assist, but nobody talked about climate change at all. So.
Thank you, Luba. And I heard that prior to a couple of years ago, most of the Canadian Red Cross efforts were outside of Canada. And that has changed in the last couple of years to be primarily inside Canada now. Go ahead, Rob.
As Raleigh was saying, we had fires in Newfoundland this year. We don't have fires in Newfoundland. We had a drought this year in Newfoundland, and we went from May, and we still don't have enough rain now, and and of course again, nobody's talking about climate change at all, from the premier on the way down. Oh, somebody set the fires. Oh, it was somebody else. It was something else, and not a word that, like, all of a sudden we don't have the water's gone, the streams are gone. We've got a drought. I used to say, people are just shocked. We've had a drought since May, no rain at all, and fires. And I watched the fires come closer and closer to St. John's, and just outside of it. But as I say, no, not a talk about climate change at all. So it's pathetic here.
Pat, this is your segment. Do you want to handle the?
Oh, Catherine, go ahead.
I just wanted to say my story is that I went down to the coast because it was so hot and smoky here, and I noticed the difference. So people on the coast of BC are not experiencing what we are in the Okanagan. And I think that really adds to the problem. Different areas are distanced from the issue and don't see the problem. The other thing is that I think we're being called to get behind a national project, which is a defense against economic destabilization as a result of Trump, and building a defense alliance with NATO. And I think that's consuming politicians, and they're not thinking past that goal. And what's the fastest way? Just keep going with oil and gas.
Thank you. Thanks, Sherry.
Yeah, well, we felt distanced from all the wildfires last year and the year before, but this year it came awfully close to home. In fact, just right across the lake from us, and we were living under an alert for evacuation for over a week, and in a place where we only had one road in and out. So it was pretty terrifying, and it really brought it close to home for sure. And I think people really have a new appreciation, and we're seeing it just right across the country, every province, and closer to bigger population centers. And hopefully it's going to result in more people talking about climate change and coming out and speaking out and demanding more of governments. I know a lot of our reaction here was we were just so furious with the lack of resources, that there weren't enough water bombers, there weren't enough crews, there weren't enough pilots for the water bombers, there wasn't proper notification systems, and it's just probably 100 times worse up north in the Indigenous communities where people have been evacuated and in many cases lost everything. So our heart just goes out to all of those communities now that we've had a little taste of it down here too. Oh, and I was just going to ask, I know somebody was collecting these stories and, we sent our story in. What's being done with these stories?
Well, Christine and our comms team has done it and is doing some interviews that are going to be on social media, whether they're all being, hopefully they're all being collected. But I will make sure that they are. But thank you, Sherry. Brian?
Yeah, I'm in Calgary. Cochrane, which is right next door to us, is almost a bedroom community. It's a long, long way from the wildfires, and it has the worst air quality in Canada today. And so it is, there's no end to it. I have a breathing problem, as a lot of people my age do, or at least some, and I could not go out today. So it does have its effects without a doubt. Thank you.
Pat, and then we'll turn it back to Dave.
I was just listening to this and I wish we could come up with, there's lots of creative people here, a visual for the large rallies where we could make it look like we're on fire. Like maybe if we had flames, as if somebody could come up with a way that we could wear straps with flames attached to our backs, and anybody that's at the rallies that's there for climate or whoever wants to could wear flames, because or some kind of a visual that we're on fire, and use the visual to send the message, and also get media to put it together that all these things and the fires go together. And I mean, I'm going to try to think of something, and I am creative, but I'm not very good at like hobbies. I'm more artistic, but I know Jane Addams is creative. Maybe, anyway, anybody who has any ideas, send your ideas to me and maybe we can come up with an idea.
You could wear masks at the same time. So that everybody seems to have masks hanging around, but
the masks don't do the flames though. I want it to look like we're on fire.
Okay, I can. Yeah, it's a good visual.
Yes.
Dave, do you want to go ahead?
Thank you very much, Pat. So we're going to move into some of the feature locations, and I'm going to call on Anita from Perth to go first, and then Edwin from Antigonish, and Erlene from Vancouver. Anita.
Hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So can I just briefly say why John Valiant mentioned Rich Kruger? I was there that day, and Rich Kruger also spoke to the Natural Resources Committee in Parliament but he came in like a big wig, very arrogant and very denying of any culpability for climate change. And anyway, so in Perth, we have many times done like a Fridays for Future action where we do a demonstration. We're holding signs and standing along Highway 7 in Perth. And we'll have a row of people with signs and dressed colorfully. And this time we're suggesting that they even wear a life jacket or a safety vest. And we have honk for climate action signs at each end of our line. And of course, we'll have our Seniors for Climate banner. And we've done this so many times that this time we decided we want to do our own action. And so we're going to do that on Friday, September 19th. And then for September 20th, the big day in Ottawa, we're going to help facilitate people to come in electric cars to Ottawa. And there's also an event in Kingston, and some of people in our region might live closer to Kingston and might prefer to go there. So we have put out an article in The Hum, which is a regional arts newspaper for this month. And they're always very supportive of any climate article. And we do notify the OPP that we're doing this along the highway, and we have to be safety minded. And I thought that because people are coming on Friday and we've got a big stash of signs, that they can then take them with them to Ottawa or Kingston for the next day.
Thank you, Anita. You're going to be busy for a couple of days at least.
Yes.
Okay. So, Edwin, I'm going to ask you to talk about Antigonish.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm the chair of the Antigonish, Nova Scotia chapter for Seniors for Climate and started chairing the group in January. And we are co-hosting the September 20th event for our kids. If you're unfamiliar with Antigonish, it's a small town about 2 hours from Halifax and the home of St. Francis Xavier University. This past weekend, when the students arrived for the fall term, the population of the town doubled in size to about 10,000 people. So the university has a significant role in the town. So on September 20th, our event will start with the rally at the Coady Gardens, which is on the St. FX campus. And if you're not familiar with the Coady Institute, it's quite a well-known international institute that offers educational programming for emerging and established community members, or community leaders from around the world who have a passion for social change. And we hope there's going to be a number of those individuals at our event. The Coady Institute is sponsoring the facility for our event, and one of our members is actually on the teaching staff of the Institute. The rally will start at about 1 with a smudging ceremony, and we're planning for 1-hour speeches. We've invited politicians to give a brief speech and have received positive responses from our member of Parliament, Mr. Baptiste, and we'll also have representatives from both the town and county municipalities, and we're still waiting for a provincial representative. We've also invited Indigenous leaders, a St. FX student and high school student, and other members of the community representing various organizations to talk. We're creating what we call a report card, which is a document which we'll be distributing at the rally. And we hope to highlight climate strategies from all 3 levels of government. And there'll be QR codes with links to online resources to explore following the event. We wanted to have some information available for participants to review after the event's over. We're also moving forward with the creation of a ribbon following the suggestions from this group. We have booked a ribbon painting workshop on September 13th at a local art house, which provided the studio space for free. It will be run by a local artist who is a member of our group. And the ribbon will be a key component of the next part of our event and will be on display in the background during the rally. Following the 1-hour rally, we will march from the Coady Gardens to the town hall, which is about 1 kilometer from the gardens. And it's on a very busy section of Main Street. And we have a bagpiper to lead the march. and other noisemakers along the route. And participants will connect during the walk with the ribbon. The march will end at 3, and everyone will be invited to a social at a local brewery very close to the town hall, which has really established itself as a really excellent event venue. And we're inviting a number of organizations to host information tables at the social, and we'll have some live music there and some great entertainment. The ribbon will be hung on the inside wall of the brewery during the social to initiate discussion. And following the event, the panels will be separated and will be on display for a week at the town library. So the ribbon becoming a very important part of our event. So that's our event. We have still very busy organizing it, but we have a great team and hopefully be ready in, what is it, 18 days now?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. And I hope you take lots of photos. And I
Yes.
want to see a video of that long ribbon as well.
Yes, we have a videographer and a photographer
Great.
lined up.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Jane, if you don't mind, I'm just going to ask Erlene to finish off Vancouver. And then if there's any questions, we'll take them. Erlene?
Oh, hi, everybody. I hope this is not finishing off Vancouver for sure. But anyway, yes, so the Seniors for Climate group here in Vancouver has joined up with the coalition, and we are doing our best to make sure that the interconnection between all of these topics is not being lost. And I think they're doing a pretty good job here to make these connections. And so some of the important things that are happening here in Vancouver are actually happening ahead of time, I think, which is being some art bills and some teach-ins around the different topics. So there's one, this one on September the 6th, and another one during the day, and another one on September the 16th, so that people can come after work or after school and help with the bills of the artistic events, and also learn more about such things such as what does Bill C2 mean? What is Climate Justice 101? Art is resistance, and those sorts of things. So Eric has our poster, which I think you can show now, for the event itself, which is starting downtown Vancouver at 2:00 at the Art Gallery, and going over the viaduct with a few speeches and art sort of things happening along the way, then going to a park at the Science Center. And so people are to arrive at the park probably around between 4 and 4:30 and go until 6:30 or 7, where there will be art events and interactive events and all sorts of things that are still being planned. So lots happening. It's only a few of us older folk involved, and with a lot of very enthusiastic and very optimistic young people, and they are actually starting to be quite organized, and we're just helping any way we can see fit to help, and looking forward to it. And I think one of the important things that everybody's talking about here is what will happen after the 20th, and making sure that we don't lose momentum, build cohesion, and strengthen our voice to actually make a difference. And so basically that's us.
Thank you very much, Erlene. So Jane and Patricia, I'm going to ask you to be very brief because we're getting quite behind in our agenda. Go ahead, Jane.
Yes, I just want to say that as Pat Smith spoke about flames, I would be very happy to talk to anybody who wanted to use some visual related to flames and how that could work. And I think it would be a fabulous addition to any September the 20th demonstration. Wildfires, that's the #1 story here.
Thank you, Jane. Go ahead, Patricia.
I have a question. I'm wondering if other locations in Kamloops, the city told us if we wanted to walk on the sidewalk or the street, we'd have to hire traffic control. And we found out that that would cost us about $1,000 or more. So that ended up not being an option. Have other communities run into this issue before?
The sidewalks are ours. If we block the road, then
that's an issue, but the sidewalks belong to people. We are told that we can chalk on them and we can walk on them. How can they stop us from walking on a sidewalk and crossing when the crossing is, you
It's
know,
public
it's
domain.
public? I mean, we can walk, and if we can't walk, they can put us all in jail, is my feeling, because I'm that kind of a person. But we are going to be walking on the sidewalk and crossing a street and walking on the sidewalk. And we are allowed in Canada to gather and be on the sidewalk. So I think better to do it and ask for forgiveness than ask for permission, in my humble opinion. I put a sorry, on another note, I put a picture of our flag ponchos in the chat for people who want to flame ponchos in the chat for people who want to look at them.
Thank you, Lori. So Rob, Luke, Rob, Jeff, and Catherine, if you have something that could be handled in the chat, I'd prefer that because, like I said, we're seriously running out of time. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, thanks. I'll just be really quick. Sidewalks good. That's legal. Parking lots good. Our local member of parliament has threatened us with the police a couple times until we brought it to their attention that parking lots are public property. And we got permission from the person that rents her constituency office. And he said it was okay to stand in the parking lot. But, you know, she'll do whatever she can to get rid of us. So it's good. Parking lots are good as long as you got the owner's permission.
Thank you, Rob. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I've been involved in organizing political protests for 50 plus years now in Vancouver and Greater Vancouver. We've never once asked for permission because if you either have a right to exercise the right to assembly or you don't, and if you have to ask someone, then all you have is a right to request. So we just don't do that. The other thing is that the Supreme Court decision that came out of I think Fredericton years back with that basically stated that anybody is entitled to use public property, and so long as you're not impeding others' use of that public property, it's a protected activity. So I wouldn't waste any time. I think it's a good idea to let the police know so that they can actually provide some free traffic control. But you don't go asking anybody; you just go and do it because it's otherwise if if you have the right, exercise the right.
Thank you, Jeff. And Patricia, I have some information on marshaling that I'll send to you outside of the meeting here. So I'd really like to get back to our agenda and the comms update. Rolly?
You're on mute, Rolly.
That's embarrassing. Okay, let me just do this again. Right. So yes, I was saying we'll be talking about postcards, but first of all, let me go through some quicker material. Just to let folks know that our website now has a new translation plugin, and it's a plugin that translates the site instantaneously. So in other words, any change, any addition we make to the English version automatically translates to French. So it's a superior product than we had before. Still working out a few glitches, but it'll make our site fully bilingual. Also, we've been doing some social media ads and boosting posts. We boosted a post of the webinar registration and so on, and social media, we got over 25,000 views, and I'm just looking at a few stats, 2,000 post engagements. We increased our number of followers. Now it brings in a lot of crazies as well. Some of the, apparently wildfires are started by, mostly started by, my God, arsonists. I did not know that, but I mean, all the crazies come out too. So we've been busy trying to keep that under control. But more positive than negative. So let me stop there. We're busy doing e-blasts. We did an e-blast last Friday. We're doing another one this Friday about, again, the webinar, promoting the webinar. And after that, we'll be doing one e-blast per week with our base of contacts, over 4,000, to improve or increase, I guess, our number of not registrations to our membership list. So we'll be continuing to do that until the 20th of September. We'll also send out a letter to all of our members, for those who are, especially who are shut-ins or who cannot attend on the day of the event, national event on September 20th. And it will allow them to send a letter, for example, to either the member of parliament or the prime minister. So we're trying to make it such that everyone has something to do on that day. We will, I know that Christine will be working on the press release and media advisory for the organizers, and she's also working with someone, Leisha, I think her name is, from CanRac, and working on national we have a role about that. We are going to hopefully be able to put that on the national agenda as well. We will also be asked, we have, as you know, on the website and the events page, I'm going to be sending out a sort of like a template that we would like you to use. Not complicated, but this way, when Jean updates the events page, it's a lot easier on her. So we're trying to facilitate that as well. So coming back to the idea of postcards, I will ask Eric to show you what we've done with the postcards that are available to organizers. And before you come on, Eric, just to let you know that the Climate Emergency Unit has a series of postcards under the theme of signed, seared, and delivered. I don't know if you've seen those, but basically they show some iconic locations like Whistler and Algonquin Park and others, Banff, under flame. And just like it was last year, it was Jasper, and before that, it was Fort McMurray, and so on. So these, I think, are very impactful, and we will make those available to all organizers who want to use those, either as handouts, but also as folks leave an action or an event, they can take that with them. Or even better still, if you have a table at an event, you can have some of the blank cards, which we'll be talking about in a minute, and folks can just sign them there, and you can collect them and mail them. There's no cost. There's no postage for mailing postcards. So, Eric, could you then, before I talk about the program that we've set up, could you show the postcards?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Rolly.
Okay.
And everyone, you may have to bear with me for 1 second. My computer is not being the fastest today, but it seems to be a little bit better right now. Before I get to those postcards, Rolly, I just wanted to do a short update on the toolkit. It should only take a minute.
Sure.
As always, for anyone who's not familiar with how to find the toolkit, I like to just show probably the best way to get there. And that is if you go to the website homepage and you hit resources, um, and I believe it's under documents. If you just, once you go to resources, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll find documents under spreading the word. The toolkit will be right at the top. So that's how you find the toolkit, where we store a lot of these really useful different digital and print resources. Many of you, if you attend these meetings, you've seen a lot of this already. So I'm just gonna go through two things very quickly. As I mentioned, my computer is being slow today, but I'm just going to scroll down. One new thing we added just this month at the request of some organizers is there are several groups that are in smaller communities going to a big city for their action. I know there's a fair bit of that happening in New Brunswick, where groups are going to Sackville, and I know a number of Ontario groups are going to Toronto. So I've added a new poster. This can be printed also to a big poster sign for groups that want to print it off as a sign during a protest, and it just basically says, town name is bringing our voice to city name, climate action now, for people, for peace, for the planet. So I've got my email here. If you go to the toolkit and you want to request that poster with your town name and the city you're going to, shoot me an email and I can do that very quickly. I did that for a group today and added some logistical info about where requested. Okay, onto the postcards. Get our postcards. And we have below our kind of draw the line branded postcards for this year. We have these special signed, seared, delivered wildfire postcards. So here you can see what it looks like on the toolkit. As Rolly will share, we have another faster way you can get those printed off for your group. But if you're looking for them on the toolkit, here they are. And I'm just going to, Rolly, I think you wanted me to open it up to show people what they look like, right?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay, absolutely. And they come in 4 versions for 4 different communities. You'll see the names here, or not so much communities as major landmarks. We have Algonquin, Banff, Tremblant, and Whistler. So I'll open these cards up. And I'll just open an example here. We'll go with Whistler. And there's different versions also, separate to the 4 different locations. We have a card that has totally blank messaging on the back, so you can write in whatever you want. And the version I'm going to show you right now is not the blank one. It actually has a message from us directed to Prime Minister Carney. So this one's very easy. If you don't want to write your own message, you just want to have the pre-existing message and sign your name. This is the filled ones are what you can use. Okay, here we go. So as you can see, beautiful cards that an artist working with Science here delivered, developed. This is the Whistler one. And below that, you can see where I might zoom in a tiny bit. You can see our message on the cards. So this message for Prime Minister Carney. So yeah, if you want to find these cards, you can find them on the toolkit. And Rolly, I believe, will share some details about how you can order those in bulk from Staples. And we've endeavored to make those as easy as possible for you to get. Rolly, is there anything else you wanted me to show or mention just right here?
No, I think that's it. We just wanted to show an example of one of the cards, and there's 4 different iconic locations. And I think that, yeah, so I'll stop there. So the
Yeah, I'll
way
stop
this is
sharing.
going to work, we've just set up an account with Staples. It's called the Staples Print Connect account. So what that allows us to do, it will allow Eric to upload our digital files that he just showed you to our account, and we can do that with postcards, but we can also do that in the future with flyers, backgrounders, or anything that we want printed. So it's a central control with local printings, and the way that's going to work is, for example, someone in Edmonton wants 100 cards, email Eric or myself, and we'll provide this information, all of the details for this in the follow-up email for organizers after coming to you probably Thursday. So the email will say the number of cards you want. It will show the which card you want. Do you want a blank card of Whistler, or do you want the Whistler with the writing or the text that Eric just showed you? So the type of cards, blank or written. You will need the street, we will need the street address and the store number of your Staples. Now, each Staples has a store number. I'm not talking about a phone number, but they have a number, store number 248. And because there are stores, as you know, all across Canada. And once we know that, we will initiate your order. And once we initiate the order, it stays on the central account. And 5 days later, you will be able to pick up the order without cost because it'll be billed centrally. And we have a separate budget for that. And you'll be able to pick up your printed material. The only not warning, but condition is that we have to have your orders in before Friday. What's this? What's Friday? I think it's Friday the 12th. Anyways, that will be because we need 5 to 7 days before to make sure it gets printed and you can pick it up. So you only have about 10 days. So if you know that you're going to want some of these cards, and again, there are different ways. Some of you might want to just leave cards at a certain facility where retirement residents but better, I suppose, to try to use them to at events or actions that we will be having across Canada. Now there will be card limits. We're going to try to limit it to 200 cards for a large location, no more than 100 cards for a small location. Doesn't sound like a lot of cards, but someone was reminding us the other day that it takes a while before you can start distributing 50 cards and people accept them and so on. So we want to have an impact with these and be a little bit more selective as to how we distribute them, I guess. So yeah, so all of the information will be sent to you. And if there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them now. But that's the plan. That's how we will be doing central printing going forward for this event and, of course, for future events as well. I see a hand up. My notes are in the way here. Catherine.
I just wanted to ask what email we should use to order these from you.
I'm going to send all that in the follow-up email that you will get this week. After every organizers meeting, we have a follow-up email. And
Thanks, Ron.
yeah, we will have all those details, Catherine.
Thank you.
Penny?
You're on mute, Penny.
You're on mute, yeah.
Hi, sorry. I just wanted to ask if you feel that we're getting a better rate by doing it this way with this a large number, or should we consider doing it locally? Printing locally.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First of all, some locations, the smaller locations will not have a staple, so they will have to do it locally. And that would mean that you would just import the file or download the file from the toolkit, bring your file to your printer and get it done that way. We think we're getting a good rate because we have a central account. We will get an extra 10% off. We were going to use 5x7 size cards. I really can't answer that, Penny, because I don't know what you would pay locally. And I know there's always a preference to go local, but this is such an easy way, a centralized way for us to sort of control the flow as well as the budget that goes into it.
Okay. It's just, being in a university town, we have a good print shop here. And so, and we thought the rates were good, but if Staples is giving us a really good rate, then we'll do it through. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Rolly, we need to expedite the agenda.
Yeah, we're good. I think the next thing I was going to talk about is finance, and that was just a reminder that each location has a $200 reimbursement, a possibility of reimbursement for invoices. I've received invoices from a few of you already, and we will reimburse you up to $200. And again, this will be reiterated in the email that you will follow, that will follow. And I see here, I don't know if I'm the one who's reminding folks of this, but For Our Kids is also offering $250 per location that is part of the DTL of the Draw the Line map. So just so that you can note that. And I'm not sure what the process there would be to collect that, but we'll try to get you some information on that. And I'll stop there. David?
Thank you, Rolly. And I'm going to go immediately over to Nick to talk about some simple actions.
So this is for people who are, haven't got actions planned yet. How many people here, is anybody here who doesn't have an action planned yet or isn't in the process of something happening? I'm seeing we have a quasi there. So for places that are, not sure they can pull anything off, they don't have the resources, etc., there's a couple of simple ideas, things you can do on the day. One of them is you can use the Later is Too Late, the film done of our activities on October 1st, have a showing of that, the one that Nancy Nickel produced. The other is you could show the webinar, which will be recorded, the September 9th presentation by Jack Vaillant. And that would be a draw to have, to draw people, bring people out to an event. You can also do a simple thing like stand at the town sign with a bunch of people, have a picture taken, and send it in, to us, and so we can publicize it. That's another way if you only have a few people, and you don't really have much to work with. So, given most people here already are planning things, maybe if you know other people who are considering doing something but don't have the resources to pull it off, you could suggest that some of these things to them, or any other ideas, any particular kind of photo, or small event can be useful. Kitchen meetings even are important, on the day. So I'll leave it at that because I know you want to move on, Dave.
Thank you. And I'm going to cut out your discussion. Sorry, Nick.
It's okay.
And move on to Louise, who's going to talk a little bit about uh, press advisor and press releases.
Yeah, just kind of queuing folks up for thinking about the kind of media outreach they want to do. So just describe a little bit of what we're doing here in New Brunswick. We've already put together an article that summarizes what we're doing and connections to draw the line that has gone out to all of our partner groups' newsletters. So we start promoting that way, and then we move to writing an opinion piece, which is on my queue for this week. So we'll start to get that out to our team to approve and start sending that both to the French and the English media here. We had very good uptake last time, which generated television and radio coverage. We will start pitching it to through a media advisory a few days ahead of the event. To try to get uptake on the radio shows, the drive shows, that kind of thing. That kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 step of the newsletter article, the opinion piece, the media advisory, the radio pitches, led to us getting a fair bit of coverage last time round. So we thought maybe we'd just give you all a sense of that and encourage you to start thinking about all that and getting all that ready now. Even though the national Draw the Line folks will have material, we still will want to have our local story, and that's where you're going to be experts on your community and your event. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Louise. And so we are going to be doing an evaluation after Draw the Line. And I'm just going to very quickly share this on my screen. So the evaluation that we have coming up is identical to what we put out during Earth Week, with the addition of 2 questions, which I've added at the end. So one of the questions is, what advantages and disadvantages did your location experience with the Draw the Line Coalition? And if your location was on the 350 Draw the Line map, what was your experience of the 350 program and working with other groups from the coalition? So those are the only 2 additional questions. Otherwise, exactly the same as what we did before. If people are interested, I can include a link to those questions in the email that Rolly's going to be sending out later this week. And it'll be available as of LEVAS, the 350 program. Yes, the 350 program. We'll be putting the questionnaire up as of September the 19th, I guess, because some groups are having it on the 19th. And it'll be cut off basically a week later, just to be able to give us time to do a summary, make some presentations internally, have a discussion possibly with the 350 group, and then have it available for the October organizers meeting. And we are also, I'm just going to mention here very quickly that we are planning on doing a national survey. We did a survey just for Saskatchewan to test it out to see what kind of results we would get. And the thought is that probably sometime in October, we don't have an exact date yet, we will be doing a national survey of our subscribers to be able to find out what they're thinking, to help guide us going forward. And with that, I'm going to ask Nick if he will talk about the future, looking forward to the Canadian Environmental Week, etc. Nick?
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, this is starting to look towards the future, beyond September 20th. And, we started out not too long ago, a year and a half ago or so, and have been very successful in building activities. Going forward, we want to get more seniors involved. We've done a lot to get them involved, but there's a lot more out there. There's millions more yet we need to mobilize and work on. So what we have mentioned in the past is that Environment Week, the first week of June, might be a focus for the next activity. Interested in your feedback on that. There's also been discussions in the steering committee about the possibility of working with, like with Third Act in the US, to have perhaps a webinar, invite them to join us in a webinar, and also the possibility, we're in touch with some seniors organizations in Europe and perhaps beyond, to have a joint webinar with them. So that's one of the things we're thinking about doing. So the real thing is moving ahead, starting to think in those terms. We'll have to evaluate the experience with the coalition. We'll be looking at ways to work with other people. We'll be looking at the focus for our next events, and we'll need to learn from you what you think we should be, concentrating on, and how we should be organizing going forward. We had originally planned to have a bit of a discussion on that. Now I'm not sure where you're at around that, Dave, if we can do it, and how much time we have. And we also, of course, have the after chat. So I just put that question to you, Dave. How do you want to handle it at this point?
We still have 3 minutes, Nick. And we do have another 15 minutes for the after chat. So if people are interested in further discussion right now, I invite you to stay for the after chat. But otherwise, we still have 3 minutes.
Okay, so then Bernine?
Yeah, thanks. I think November is the COP30 event, and I think that will be a natural organizing focus in coinciding with that. So that's what we're looking at locally.
Okay. What are you thinking of doing? Just to get a sense.
We haven't really decided. We're kind of going to get through September 20th.
Okay.
And then, but we've kind of charted out that, September 20th is a multi-focus. November will be very much a climate focus.
Yeah, totally. Okay, thank you. Brian?
I'd like to suggest one of the problems when new people come on board is giving them something to do. And I would like to suggest a program that would be entitled something like Getting to Know Your MP and MLA. And 4 times a year, that is on each equinox, March 21st, June 21st, September 21st, and December 21st, ask them to write a letter to their MP or MLA or meet with them. I think that we need to get to know our legislators, and I think it's a very worthwhile thing to ask people to do.
Okay, thank you. And can people speak to the issue of Environment Week next June as well? Catherine?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we're headed for Earth Day on April 22nd. And we've asked, I went through an old teacher who was retired to gain a teacher's in the new school. And I'm going to deliver a generational chair. They're going to get to know their students and decorate it for April 22nd. The children in grade 5 are going to present this chair to the city of Kelowna. And that's through a proclamation that you apply for in the city and for a letter of support from your mayor.
Okay, thank you. Lydia?
I'm wondering if anybody else has the issue where we see Seniors for Climate partner groups in our September the 20th action. So I've got to speak about environment, and I had to correct them and say, yes, we're affiliated with, it's one of our sponsors or one of our parent groups, but we're Seniors for Climate. Is anybody else experiencing the same thing?
Well, it's not an uncommon problem. I'm not sure what to do about it, but it's not an uncommon problem. Did you have any suggestions about how you dealt with it, or no? Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. Have an answer. Maybe somebody else does in terms of how to solve.
So Nick, I just want to honor our 8 o'clock shut off.
Can I just do a closing remark, Dave? Just one very quickly.
Go ahead.
Okay. So what I've heard so far is that there are going to be activities that will be done locally, which we should look at ways to support. And then there's a question of what we do together across the country. And, we have to consider some of the things people have brought up already. Thanks.
Okay. So there may be some interest, I hope there is, in talking about future actions. And so for those people, I invite you to stay for another 15 minutes for our after chat. But otherwise, that concludes our program for tonight. I hope you enjoyed being guided through this labyrinth of things going on. And we'll see you at the beginning of October. Thank you, everyone.